Hello, everybody. My name is Billy, and this is
I'm Emily,
we.
Billy's bestie.
That's right, and we're co-founders of the Glorify Project. And we just want to say thank you for joining us today. We have done a couple of little podcasts before, just before the election, and so we just kind of just jumped on here and just given our point of view and what we feel about what was being talked about on the political level. But today, we just want to talk about how the Glorify Project got started, how we became friends, and because that's usually a question that comes up, like, how'd you guys meet?
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't online. We didn't meet online, like a lot of people.
That's how I met my husband, but that's a story for another time. Mutual friend.
Actually, we met each other through, well, we were going to the same church. We never really connected. Our kids were in Sunday school together. Our daughter Annie and my son Isaiah got baptized at our church with teacher Sarah.
Kelly.
She's
Love you,
awesome.
Sarah.
So that's how we kind of knew each other. Never really connected at a good friendship level until the pandemic hit. And they said, you can't hang out with anybody. Stay 6 feet away. Stay home.
Church is closed.
Yes.
Everything's closed.
And we're kind of rebellious in a good way.
It's a little bit.
In a good way. We think it's a good way. And I just felt like in my spirit that I should call Emily and say, hey, are you all about this pandemic thing? Are you not going to stay 6 feet away from people? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh, good God. And that just opened the door for us to connect. Like I said, our kids are the same age, so they got to hang out, and they have a trampoline back here. You can't see in our...
lawn chairs, but yeah.
So this is how we started our friendship. We just started
in this space.
Exactly. Right where we are. This backyard is where our friendship started. And then along came some other friends of ours. Dessa, Sarah Kelly was with us, and Rhonda, who has passed away. Love her so much.
Yeah.
We all started getting together and just started using this time together to pray with one another, pray for the community, for the pandemic, and just like really pressing into the Lord. So that's how our friendship started. And through that, we got to start sharing who we are, talk about our testimony and things like that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Billy. Billy's so awesome. It's so, we love doing this. We love talking to you guys. And we were just sharing how so much of our content, we shoot from the hip. Like we'll be dropping off something to Options Pregnancy Resource Center and we just go live. And she's just such an amazing co-founder and bestie. And God has had his hand in our friendship and our families' friendship. Both our families have become good friends as well. And then in ministry and our testimonies. But like Billy said, so it started in this space. And I don't remember how you said you had heard about my testimony just on social media or because that was another reason when she's like, we need to hang out, we have similar stories. And so just sharing a little bit about that moving forward here with the Glorify Project. So this is, I don't even know how many years ago, I have twins. And they're 16. So their big brother would be a year older. Gabe would be 17 if he was with us. So 17 years ago, goodness, it's so long ago. My husband and I were pregnant with our first baby. And we found out at the 20-week ultrasound, and that's usually where they, all the body parts are there and all the functions are happening, the anatomy scans, and gender, if you want to know gender. So they started the ultrasound and they promptly stopped the ultrasound because there was a complication. And right away, the doctors said, we need to talk to you in the side room for a minute. So obviously immediately knew something wasn't right. And we found out that our son his name is Gabe, had failed to develop kidneys in his, as a baby grows in the womb, he didn't grow kidneys, which meant there was little to no amniotic fluid in the womb, and babies, drink that in and breathe that in for lung function. And so, with no kidneys, no amniotic fluid. And so we were told to terminate because the baby wouldn't have proper lung development. It wasn't viable outside of the womb. His life was not viable. And the complication is called bilateral renal agenesis. I don't know how you pronounce it. or commonly known as Potter's syndrome. And so at 20 weeks, we were advised to have an abortion and to terminate. And my husband and I, it turned our world upside down. We knew immediately we didn't want to have an abortion. We knew that as long as our son was alive, his heart was beating and he was moving inside of me, we weren't going to terminate the pregnancy. So yeah, so we told the doctor no, which they weren't super thrilled with. And every appointment, post that appointment, we were told, you can still terminate, you can still terminate. And they would say that was the best course of action. And my husband and I flat out told them, you know what, as long as our baby's alive, we're going to trust God. We believe there's a God that does the impossible. And come what may, we just weren't going to make that decision. And so carried out the pregnancy. But again, every appointment was met with, you should terminate. And, our church was praying, family was praying. And I ended up going into labor at 33 weeks and delivered him a natural birth, and he passed away about an hour later from his complication. We had about an hour with him to hold him and love on him. We have some photos, and then he passed away from from Potter's syndrome. Didn't ever make a peep, didn't ever cry. But we did get that time, and that's something my husband and I do not regret, that we got about an hour with him, and family could come in and see him. And yeah, we just honor his little life. It mattered. It mattered to us, and it mattered to our families. And then post story, I always share, we went on to have twins after our son Gabe. So 4 months later, found out we were pregnant with twins. They're now 16 years old and amazing. And they know they have a big brother who's in heaven with Jesus. So, and then with the Glorify Project, my husband and I, and Billy, and she'll share her testimony, we want women and men, dads too, but women to know that they're not alone in their situations. Whether you get a diagnosis like I did, you don't have to terminate. You don't have to have an abortion. You can carry out the rest of that pregnancy. And sometimes doctors are even wrong. Your baby may live. And so we just want to, through the Glorify Project, come alongside you and rally with you and encourage you and love on you, and just let you know that you're not alone in your situation, in your diagnosis.
And also, some of the story that Emily left out, not intentionally, but people that came to you and talked to you about, they would understand
Oh, yeah, yeah,
if
yeah. Yeah,
you
yeah. Yeah,
determined.
yeah, absolutely. I had well-intentioned. Yeah, thank you. This is why we're dialoguing. This is why we're
Yes.
doing this. Yes, a lot of friends and even Christians, believers, yeah, would encourage me and say, it's understandable to terminate and to have an abortion. And then I understand why they're saying what they're saying, and I understand why women do choose to. My husband and I knew in our hearts that if I could feel him moving inside of me and he was alive and he had a heartbeat on the fetal monitor, we weren't going to end his life. And so that was something that was a little difficult to process. I needed friends who were going to stand with me, in faith, even if it wasn't going to work out, even if he wasn't going to be healed, if you will, that I needed friends who were willing to support my decision. And I did have a lot of friends who did, and family, but there were those who said, we would understand if you chose to have an abortion. And it was just difficult to process it at that time. So it still is something that I'm like, it's just, that's me personally, that's difficult to process. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
good point. Good reminder.
Yeah. And that's just something that's been on our hearts too, is that we want to be available for other women to be encouraged, and just to let you know that we know what you're going through. And every story is different, but there's things that we wish people would have said to us and not said to us. And we want to be the ones that say the right things, or not even sometimes to say anything.
Yeah.
It's just to be there and be like, I'm praying for you. Bring us a meal, something, just, here's some bath bombs. I don't know,
Yeah,
something just to kind
absolutely.
of like be encouragement, to just like, people know that you're there for them. So that's, part of our heart for the Glorified
Yeah,
Project.
absolutely. That we aren't just women who are pro-life. And our team, we have other women in our team
Mhm.
who have experienced the full gamut of things around the topic of abortion. And we just want women to know they're not alone, and that we don't just talk from a place of we love mama and baby. We do absolutely love mama and baby and daddy, but that we have walked that difficult road. We've sat in those doctor's appointments. We've faced, and you'll hear
Mhm.
Billy's testimony. We've faced the challenges, and we do understand why people choose to have an abortion. But we just want to be an option, a reminder that you don't have to, and
Yeah.
that we all have different circumstances and are coming from different backgrounds, but we have walked that difficult road too. So we do understand
Mhm.
what you're going through and what women are going through.
Yeah, just
So,
put out the story that normally is not heard or
yeah.
told or censored, as you would say.
Yeah.
So, my testimony is when I was 21, I had a shindig at my house with people from work and things that I just kind of met. And at that party, I ended up being raped. 21, virginity taken, um, and then becoming pregnant out of that situation. And, I didn't do anything about it. I was so scared. I was so embarrassed. I had so much shame and guilt in what happened because, I consider myself kind of a tough chick and
Yes, she is.
wasn't that tough that night. But I even had our pastor was asked to dedicate my baby, and he was like, "Well, we'll have to do it in between services," understanding that I never told anybody my situation. Now, I've had really amazing friends that knew something happened. They were like, "We know who you are, Billy. You had a promise ring from your dad. My dad had passed away earlier the year before, and then they knew who I was and knew that I was saving myself for marriage. It was my last thing I had with my dad was his promise ring to save myself for marriage. So for me, everything was lost. I lost my virginity. I lost my promise, the last thing I had with my dad. So there was a lot of emotions going on with that. And then to have kind of people just like, ironically, my Christian friends that were not as supportive as my, what we call my worldly friends. And so that was really hurtful to me because I grew up in the church. These were the people that I knew my whole life. And it was like they didn't know me at all, so that was really hurtful. But, I did have some other amazing people in the church that stood with me. They were like, "No, we are gonna dedicate this baby during service like we normally would."
Mhm.
Um, and they were just there, just standing with me. So that was absolutely amazing for me. Abortion was really not on the table for me. I know everybody says, well, abortion should be available for those who have been raped or for incest. But I grew up in the pro life movement. Our church is really a part of the whole right to life. Now, I get it. There are some right to life people that are wacky people.
Right.
They're crazy. And I
Militant.
remember
Yeah.
at that time, they were even 10 times worse then than I think they are now. Ironically, my roommate at the time was within a wonderful, loving relationship. She knew this was going to be the man that she was going to marry one day, and she ended up pregnant. And they discussed what they should do. And unfortunately, like most gentlemen out there, no offense to you guys, but a lot of times your voices are silenced and you're told to tell the girl whatever you want to do. So that's what she did. And they said, well, we're not really ready for this baby yet, but so you know, we'll have the abortion now and then we'll get married and have kids later. She said nothing became so black and white to her until that day. Day she went to the clinic, she didn't tell anybody. She went to the clinic. She had to go through a group of people that were yelling and screaming at her that she was a whore, she was a murderer, she's going to go to hell, and, just berated her on her way in. She had a procedure done, and she said the minute that the procedure started, she knew what she was doing was wrong. They took her to a side room with 6 other girls in a lazy boy chair. Every single one of those women were crying. Now, my situation, as like I said, I was her roommate. She knew that I was raped and I had became pregnant, and she moved out. And she said, I have to move. I can't stay here. I love you. You're my friend. I support you with what you're doing because you chose to keep a baby out of your situation and I chose to abort mine, which I now know is wrong. For her, it was wrong. I have to leave. She was, I can't. It hurt her too much to see such opposite stories play out. I was choosing life and she chose not to. So my son is 26. I can't believe it. He's 26 years old. He's absolutely amazing. We're best friends. We
Yes.
have tattoos together.
Mhm.
And he's getting married next year. It's just
Woo!
been
Awesome.
yes,
Mhm.
awesome. It's so crazy to think. So that's my story. That we can talk to women and let them know that abortion is not going to take away your rape. It's not going to heal the trauma. That 9 months gave me time to think about what I was going to do, what had happened to me, deal with the situation at hand. And when I did choose to keep my son, I had to pray and say, Lord, I need you to cover my eyes when I see my child. I said, I don't want to see my rapist in him. I want to see my child for who he is or she was, because I didn't know if it was boy or girl.
Yeah.
And I had a
Mm.
son, and he covered my eyes. I do not ever look at my son and think of my rapist. He is who he is. And, my son knows his story. He knows the situation, which is hard because I did get married and I have two kids. And, you grow up teaching your kids that, you wait till marriage and
Mhm.
children are created out of love and you want them. And then to have a child be like, well, technically, you really didn't want me, and it wasn't because of love, but to know that he grew in me, I grew to love him. I grew to forgive my rapist because I didn't want to hold that on me. And we have a great relationship, and he's so grateful and thankful that
Mhm.
he is here. His fiance is grateful that
Yeah.
he is here.
Mm.
My friends and family, and
Yes.
he's been a blessing. The Lord's told me to pray for his heart from day one, and I've been praying for him. And um, I'm going to brag a little bit.
You brag away.
But he's never had anybody ever say anything bad against him. Not a
Mhm.
teacher, not friends. No
Mhm.
one's ever like, "Oh, I can't stand your kid." He's just he just goes with the flow and he's just a really amazing kid. So I couldn't have asked for
Mhm.
anything better. He's what I say, my beauty from ashes.
Yes.
What the devil meant for evil, God turned for good, and
Yeah.
I'm so blessed.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah, he's amazing. Like I said, our families have really grown close over the last, like, 5
Yeah.
years. I've been where we moved from Portland originally and where we live now, where, I've been here 5 years and we've been friends since 2020.
Yeah.
And so it's just been neat to watch, Billy's son and all siblings are her kids, but siblings to her son, how they just get along together.
Yeah.
So, it's been amazing. So yeah, and Billy and I were saying that and there's a few other women, with testimonies around the topic of abortion that we pretty much cover all the issues. I think the only one we don't have someone within our group that can speak to someone is the topic of incest. But we've had a woman who gave her baby up for adoption. We have a woman who has experienced abortion. And then ours, my life was at risk. I don't usually talk about that aspect of it, but the doctors, again, in encouraging me to terminate, to have an abortion, they had said, you're at risk for preterm labor amongst, a couple things that they would say. And I just thought, as long as preeclampsia, common things too. And I just said, again, as long as Gabe was alive. So, my life was at risk and my baby wasn't viable due to a abnormality. So, and then Billy's experience with rape and keeping her son. So we get it. We want this podcast to be, we were just talking this morning leading up to filming and recording for the day, that we just want this to serve as an invitation to join the conversation, that, we may not be sitting at our backyard picnic table every episode, but it really, God has really put on our heart that our experiences that we've gone through provide a seat at the table that we wouldn't have otherwise had. And that goes for you too. Different things you've experienced, you, the listener, those who are going to listen to the audio of this. You can't see me pointing at the camera, but you, the listener, those of you listening, that the things you've gone through, God will use. Billy
Yeah.
touched on that. You know what I mean? And whether you believe in God or not, that's okay too. You're welcome here. You're welcome to join the conversation. And so we just want to offer a seat at the table to join this
Mhm.
conversation with us. And so moving forward, if you have questions, if you want to know more specifically about our specific testimonies, please feel free. We want you to comment, the videos, wherever this is going to upload. You can email us at theglorifyproject@gmail.com. We both get the emails, and we'd love to do some topics around, discussions. We also have said, so we're in Oregon. We actually specifically are in Corvallis, Oregon,
Yes.
and Oregon is an abortion capital of the US. I often say it's the abortion capital of the US because there's no restrictions and no regulations on abortion, right? In Oregon.
From children, doesn't matter what age you are in a situation. If you choose abortion, you could be 11 years old and have one without parental consent here in
Yes.
the state of Oregon, which saddens our hearts because that means that child is not protected. I understand people like, well, she should have an abortion because she's 11 years old and, whoever got her pregnant should be persecuted and they should be going to jail and they should
Mhm.
suffer the consequences. And unfortunately, in Oregon, that person is protected because a child can just go in and have it done. And you can have that abortion up until the day of birth in
Yeah.
Oregon. So there's a lot of
Even partial birth
yeah,
abortion.
partial birth abortion, so there's a lot of those topics here. And even if you're someone who, Emily and I both have experienced miscarriages. I know a young girl that had a child who passed away from SIDS, and another friend of ours who never had children. So,
Mhm.
we want to talk about it all, not
Yes.
just like these hard topics that people want to get all political about. And we
Yeah.
don't want it. I mean, it's going to get political, let's be honest.
Yeah,
I
it's
said, but that's,
forced into the political
yeah,
realm. Yeah.
but that's really not our hearts to make this all about politics. We will have our viewpoints, but we
Yeah.
all have our point of view. That's
Yeah.
why we're in America.
That's exactly right.
Um, so if you have questions, if you want to just connect on any level, we want
Mhm.
to just have a conversation. If you just need to say it,
Yeah.
just to say it,
Yeah,
we're
just
here to do.
tell someone that we've
Yeah.
we've experienced that. We've had a handful of women who have, like, literally just sent a DM, who have gone their entire lives. One lady in particular, I remember on Facebook, who has never told anyone that she had had an abortion because it was just something you just keep to yourself, and she's stuffed it down, and here she's, like, I think she was in her late 60s, early
Hmm.
70s, and just needed to tell somebody. So this is a space where you can come and talk about it. Come with all everything you're carrying and feeling. And maybe we say this about each other, like in our friendship, and we have a handful of friends that we process things with. We sometimes come to the table and our emotions are like in a knot and we don't know what to do. And maybe you're contemplating having an abortion and you need someone to maybe process through some things before making a decision. We'd love for you to reach out here, and there's no judgment. We do have our points of view for sure, and we do love Jesus. People are
Hmm.
going to get that, but we are not
Yeah.
here to Bible bash you,
Yeah.
but just share our understanding in the situation and listen. So so we want to do. We moving forward, we're doing this twice a month to start. And again, please feel free to comment, engage, share this on social media, share this with a mom who may need it, or a dad. And we haven't even said this necessarily, but if you are even post abortion, and maybe
Mm.
because we see a lot between TikTok and Instagram, we see a lot of women who think, where I've been told this is the right thing to do, and not necessarily here to talk about specifically right and wrong, even though we are against abortion, that they thought that was the only option they had. And so now they're dealing with the consequences, or dealing with the emotional issues that come,
Mm.
and even health issues that can come And so you're welcome here too. We're here to listen
Mhm.
and to love on you, and you are deeply valued and deeply loved, regardless of the
Yes.
decisions you've made. So we want to be a space for that as well. So
Yeah.
you are not, you're welcome here as much as the pregnant mom is, as much as the searching mom is. Oh,
Yeah. And then we just want to give you, as if you're in Oregon, we want to help you with as much resources as we can. And we'll do another episode that just talks about what we do as a nonprofit besides our little podcast here that we're
right,
starting.
right.
And if you have any topics that you want us to talk about, let us know. We would like to, get some research and give
Yeah,
you all the information that we know and we understand. We're just here to inform,
yep,
to love, and let you know you're not alone.
100%. Like she said, being in Oregon, we will be discussing some Oregon topics around this, Oregon issues around this topic. That we feel pretty strongly about
Hmm.
that a lot is going on in the state of Oregon right now. We've had many friends leave the state just based on the, not just political temperature, but just the state of Oregon is not necessarily a great place to have business, love family and life, and just a lot going on. And so God has told us to remain and to dig our heels in. And so we're going to be discussing that. So we moving forward, yes, we will have there'll be a little more structured to our podcast. We wanted to start with our testimonies just so that women get a feel for who we are
Yep.
and our experiences. But we'll have we were talking about this the other day, we'll have some like themes that we do on a regular basis, like in the news or,
Yeah.
and have we want to have laughs too, because this is a serious subject and an emotional subject, but at the same time that as a leaf falls, that even with the heaviness we've experienced in the women in the Glorify Project and the women we've counseled, that life is still good for us. And we love to help you. That's again part of what we've been through. We love to help and love on you and comfort you and provide resources. But we love to laugh at the same time.
Yep.
And that life does move forward, even in the midst of difficult seasons. So we're here for you. Definitely engage. Again, like I said, share, hit that like button. What do people
Yeah.
say? Smash that like button.
And share,
Share and subscribe. There we go. We got this. So we love you guys. And
Yes.
yeah, any closing remarks or?
No, well, first of all, just thanks again for being here. And we look forward to
Yeah.
hearing from you. We would love some questions. Like I said, we have different points of view. You're going to have your own personal viewpoints. We want to discuss all sides. So if you don't believe in what we believe, that's fine. Please share that. We'll have a great discussion, but let's not get mean and rude and gross to each other about
Exactly
it.
right. Space.
Yeah, we're not here to bash anybody, and we don't want to be bashed either.
Exactly right. Let's keep it, copacetic, as my dad would say,
right.
used to say. So, but we love you guys. Thanks for joining us today. Feel free to share this, like I said, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds great.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.